rate. Neither of which matters at all. All that matters is if they like the house, have the down, and can afford the monthly. Would you agree? So God, please, when you go into this business, don't be a real estate agent. Act like real estate agents. You can be an agent, just don't act like one because they're bozos. I'm married to a real estate agent. I can say that. So, house is worth $100. I'm going to price it at $115. Why? Because they'll pay more because the price doesn't matter. You don't need to stand up, hold your hands up again. Those of you that have been to the Burley Boot Camp, worked with my seminars, lots of you out there, some of you out there have well over 100 properties. Almost none of our clients, less than, depending on how you're doing it, somewhere between 25% to a third of the people are the only ones who ask. And I said that correctly. 2/3 to 3/4 of the people who move into my homes never, ever asked the price. Ever. Because it didn't matter. Because I spoke to them in their language. I put myself in their shoes. All they wanted to know is, do we like the house? Well, they've called me, so I know they already what? Like it. They put an application on it. I mean, come on, we can figure this one out. They like it. I verified they have the down, so we're covered. Now it's just about whether or not they can afford the what? The monthly. I just got to match monthlies, not prices. In fact, we don't even tell them the price when they ask the price. Can you ask me the price of the house real quick?
John, what's the price of the house?
It's $2,900 down and it's $950 a month. Ask me the price again.
John, what's the price of the house?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's $950 a month and it's $2,900 down. If he asks 3 times, I'll tell him it's $115.9, it's $950 a month, it's $2,900 down. But I won't tell him unless he asks how many times? 3. Only 1/4 to 1/3 of the people will ever ask 3 times what the price is because they're already used to never knowing what the price is and I know this for a fact, because they drove to the house in a car that they bought without knowing what it cost when they bought it. Correct? If you want to know how to do this business, go to car lots and go to mobile home lots. Those people know how to put people into what they need. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put somebody in there. They're going to be paying a different monthly than me. They're going to be paying $1,000. When I move them in, I need to get at least 3%. If I don't get 3%, there's not enough money for them to stay. Some people like to call it hurt money. I need at least how much? 3%. I can't go much over 5%. If I go much over 5%, I price most people out. How many of you have heard of the lease option business before? Okay. There's a lot of people that teach it, and a lot of things that are taught are very, very great in theory. In what? Because I know there's some guys who are national speakers who talk about lease options, and they tell you that, yes, I get $20,000 deposits. And I'm like, where? Fantasyland? Because I don't get any $20,000 deposits. I've had a couple people in well over 1,000 transactions. I've had a couple who gave me a deposit in that sort of numbers. A couple. Yet some of these guys talk like getting $15,000, $20,000 is normal. Hey, if they had $15,000, $20,000, they'd already gone to a bank and gotten a loan. Hello? Okay, the other thing is that's very, very important is that you learn to do your due diligence. We have a lot of audio programs that are available. We do the boot camp where we teach it. You need to do your due diligence because here's what I've learned. Some people do this business, the lease option, the cash flow business, installment contracts, however you're going to do it in your state, and they actually think it's cool. And some of them teach it in a disgusting manner, in my opinion. They teach it like it's actually a good thing that a lot of people are going to move in and not be able to what? Pay, and then you get to throw them out, as they tell this laughingly, and keep their money and shove somebody else in and do it again. That's not how business is done. It's not how we do business. Because here's what I know to be a fact. Not what I think or believe. I know it's a fact. On a low-down housing purchase, which we have FHA loans, we have VA loans, so we have lots of statistical information on these, right? The fact is, in the first year, about 10% of those loans are going to fall bad. They're going to fall out. Because here's why. Often in life, bad things happen to good people. Would you agree? Most people who buy these houses are a couple. There's 2 people buying the house. It's based on how many incomes? too. That means if to one of those people death, disability, or divorce occurs, the ability to pay for the house is almost always what? Gone. I know that 10% of the houses I'm going to lose, I'm going to have to take back every year because of one of the 3 Ds. Death, disability, or divorce. I can't prevent that. In America right now, in almost no place is unemployment an excuse to not make your house payments for regular people in regular houses. Because here in Phoenix, there's nobody who's making $25,000 to $40,000 who's unemployed for the long term unless they choose to be. Because we have tons of jobs for any regular person who wants to what? Work. You're unemployed in this state because you choose to not work. So I'm going to lose some of them for that. But for God's sake, please, regardless of your religious beliefs, don't go into this to screw people out of their deposits. It's called flipping. It's called churning. It's called spinning. And it's not the way to make the long-term money. You make your long-term money in this business by meeting with somebody one time, moving them in, and having them pay you lots of money every single month for the long term. Does that make sense? And they get a house, and they will end up making money on it, and you end up making money. We are just now almost, so does this work? I've been doing this for a while, full-time for 15 years. We are just now almost, I think they're actually in escrow to cash us out. We are just going to pop over 500 people have moved into a Burley home and cashed me out. And that's nice to be able to let somebody else own a home and me make money too. Does that make sense? So first of all, understand those guys, those charlatans who tell you you're going to get big, huge deposits and spin the people out, they're talking theory because people don't have big, huge deposits. And the second is you already know you're talking to somebody who's trying to teach you how to screw people. What are they probably trying to do to you? Okay, use your intelligence. And they're going to be putting in about $5,000. So what we do now is we calculate what we make. How much do I got into this deal? What did I put down? I'm in it for $12,000. How much are they giving me? 5. So if I'm putting in 12 and getting back 5, I think we could fairly say that my cash investment is $7,000. Correct? I'm getting $1,000 a month from them. How much do I have to pay? $600. So I make $400 a month. 400 times 12 is $4,800. And $4,800 divided into 7,000. It's about a little over 65%. I know somebody's got a calculator here. I didn't bring my calculator. But it's a little over 65%. Is what they're making in monthly, is what my annual return is. See, because rate of return is how much money I put out, and how much I get back. Our average deal, we do in the 60 to 80%. A lot of them we do over 100% in the first year. Our bare minimum is 40%. If we can't make 40%, we don't buy it. Claude talked about you guys going to a next level for some of you. For some of you, this is just something to think about for the future. For some of you, this is very appropriate information for you to have right when? Now, because your business is ready to start going into the next phase, which is the wealth phase, the ownership phase. See, we've got, in all our businesses, we've got our startup phase, which, let's face it, for most businesses, the first year or two, for some businesses, it's a lot longer than that, but for most businesses in those early years, it's about survival. It's about what? Survival. It's making enough money while making lots and lots of mistakes to be able to stay afloat and survive. But at some point, your business, like my business, gets to a point where it needs to grow up a little bit and become a little bit more mature. And what that is we then move into the wealth creation phase. And the wealth creation phase is where we stop just selling our assets for commissions. And we actually start keeping them so that we will have long-term wealth. Does that make sense? Because that's where it's at. It's not in flipping. Flipping is awesome. I've done lots of flipping. We still do some flips every year. Why do I still flip houses? Because we still, with our marketing, we are designed to buy regular houses where regular people live. We buy primarily 3-bedroom houses. Most of them are 1 3/4 baths. They have about 1,150 to 1,400 square feet. They're in regular neighborhoods. I don't buy in gangbang neighborhoods. I don't buy in really nice neighborhoods. I buy regular neighborhoods where regular people live. You guys familiar with this sort of investing idea? Yeah. You know, I always jokingly tell people, how do you tell the neighborhood? Real simple. If I drive through, and I'm serious on this, if I drive into the neighborhood and people are jogging, people are what? The neighborhood is too nice. No, I'm totally serious, because do regular people jog? Never. Regular people don't jog. So if the neighborhood people are jogging, it's a cool neighborhood, it's a nice neighborhood, it's just not where I'm going to buy houses to sell to regular people, because no regular people live in this neighborhood. Because they can't afford it. Does that make sense? Next, if I'm in the neighborhood and people are running, people are what? Yeah, quickly, like with handbags underneath their arms. Okay, this is the low crime area. I'm not doing this. So you all decide what neighborhood works for you. But I'm telling you, the most money with the least amount of hassles is putting regular people into the American dream. See, because these people have been locked out by our system. The FICO system is totally absurd. The FICO banking system has nothing to do with reality. I was making a 6-figure income and wanted to buy a stupid truck for about $300 a month, and because of 3 judgments that weren't caused by me, I'm responsible because I left the bills in my name, I couldn't buy the truck. Does that make any logical sense? I had no other bills and made over 6 figures that year with no bills, no payments. Because it doesn't make sense. So like we do our due diligence. We run a FICO report, credit report, and everybody move in. You know, most people when they move in, this is what it's like. They moved from Massachusetts 2.5 years ago. 2 of their utility bills they didn't pay off. 75 to 100 points each off the credit report. They did not pay the final 2 months on a cell phone that they dropped from Massachusetts because in Arizona the same coverage wasn't available. And this is very common with regular people. 2 to 3 blips on their credit report are medical. 2 to 3 times in the last 7 years, they took their kid into an emergency room or to a clinic, a walk-in clinic, and they didn't pay the full copay or deductible, or they didn't have insurance. And that $50 or $100 bill, the medical profession's standard operating procedure is to take every single bill to what? Collections. They will spend $300 to $400 to collect a $50 bill. So it's like, I'm looking at their credit report. They've always paid, they pay their rent on time because we check with the landlord. We go back 5 years. They've worked at the same job for over 5 years. We go back employment 5 years. Their car payments are made. There's no huge, extensive amount of debt. They've got 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 little teeny nothings that started out, most of them at less than $100. And because of that, the bankers of this world have told them they cannot have a what? Home. And we tell them they can. And they're very grateful. What we do is we teach you how to develop a database of buyers. See, what I didn't like in the beginning, I didn't like having a house come available and nobody ready to buy it. Does anybody like that? I thought it really sucked, especially because when I was doing this full time, I personally was buying 15 to 25 houses every single month. And I didn't like the idea of within a month or two to have to start making mortgage payments on 15 to 25 houses that were what? Vacant, especially when the next month there was going to be how many more houses that are going to be vacant? 15 to 25. So what we do is we use very low-cost grassroots marketing techniques to go ahead and develop what we call a database of buyers. What we teach you to do in our audio programs, what I teach you to do at my live event, the boot camp, is to actually have 40, 50, 60, 80, 100, I think Nick Potter may have talked about this, people lined up, ready to buy, pre-approved by your company under your standards before you ever own it. Does that make sense? So what we really stress you do in the beginning is, yes, you're going to be doing your marketing to buy houses, but let's face it, you guys already know how to find houses and get good deals, don't you? Don't you? Yes. I mean, you already know how to find the houses. The paradigm, the false belief is that I won't be able to move the houses fast enough. The reality in this business, if you get yourself set up right and do your marketing, you'll rarely have houses sit for more than 2 months, and you'll commonly move houses within a couple weeks, if not pre-sold. Because what we do is we create what's called an A-list, or what? Get an A-list. And I've got reps now that buy houses for me in several different areas, and what they do is every single Monday morning they go through the A-list. The A-list is everybody that's put an application in, who's been approved by our company, who has the money to move in, who within the next 30 to 60 days is ready, willing, able, and going to move. Would you say those are good clients for us? And so we have that list. And many of and so we just have that list. And so every single week, a couple times, well, basically, I mean, we tell you, and what I always did is I call people over and over and over and over and over again on my A list. I never speak to the B list and the C list. I only call the A list. And I call the A list until basically they get tired of hanging up the phone on me. Because the people that read are really able, I know that a lot of regular people who tried to buy a house once and couldn't, they're a bit discouraged. Does that make sense? So I know psychologically and emotionally, in many cases, one of the two people in the family, either the husband or the wife, doesn't think it's ever really going to what? Happen. It's like, look, we tried this once, honey, and we got shot down. And they feel bad, and they feel embarrassed, and they feel lost. It's usually the husband, not the wife on this. I find the wives are more of a bulldog, and we're going to get a house, we're going to get a house. And for many cases, we just need to help keep reminding her that she needs to remind him that he needs to get his butt off the couch and get in the car and go look at one of the Burley houses. Because we know if we can get him to look at it, the odds are pretty good if we've done our job that he's going to answer the first question yes, because he's going to like the what? House. And I've already answered the second two questions. I already know he's got the what? Down. I already know they can afford the what? Monthly. What I learned about money a long, long time ago is without question, money is the most lied about subject in the history of the world. Without question. I couldn't believe it. I believed it, but it was just amazing. On the front page of today's newspaper, in a survey, 20% of average people believe the best path to wealth was winning the lottery. I think probably 75% of the other 80 were lying, because they probably believed it too. The fact is, people do not get rich on big deals. Anybody here know anybody who out of nowhere, out of where? Did some huge big deal out of nowhere and kept the money for the long term? Anybody? Okay, I've asked this question now, seriously, to a couple 100,000 people. No one's ever said yes. Do I know a few people who did a big deal and made a bunch of money? Yeah. And what happened to the money very quickly? It was gone. True wealth is made following the formula like what the Waltons did. Guys, remember Walmart? Sam Walton? They made it off small amounts of money that they consistently took and reinvested for the long return. And that's what we're talking about doing here. Taking a chunk of your money. And I know for a lot of you, you don't even need any money to do this because you know how to buy houses cheap enough to where very shortly after you buy it, you can refinance it, and therefore you wouldn't have any money in the deal anyhow, correct? It's taking some of those assets and investing them for the long term where they'll spin off cash flow. See, so why don't I work a lot? When you don't have to work at all, my experience personally has been you don't work a lot. Does that make sense? Yes. I did try not working several years ago, pretty much at all. And what I found out after about 6 months is that there was only so many beaches and so many pina coladas. So doing absolutely nothing didn't work as a long-term plan. Although I do recommend you try it personally, so you can have that own experience. But what I have found is by taking the money and investing it for the long term, and how I invest it is I buy the houses, and the houses kick off the cash flow, just like this little house that we were showing you here, and that money comes in every month, is it provides me with the financial security that I get. See, because, yeah, do guys like Donald Trump sell a lot of real estate? Yeah. Hello, he's a real estate developer. That's what they do. They build real estate and they sell it. Did his true wealth come from the real estate he sold or the real estate he held? Held. Your true wealth comes from the real estate you hold on to. And what I would encourage you guys to do when it's appropriate for your business, and you'll know that, not me, When it's appropriate for your business, decide to make the intelligent decision, to get educated and invest for the long term with some of your assets. I'm not saying quit what you do now. I'm saying that if you really want to be wealthy for the long term plan is not to always flip everything we buy. I've been doing this a long, long time. I know a lot of people who've been in this business 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I got news for you. Most of them are not in the cash flow business. They're either in landlording or quick cash. And I don't want to burst any bubbles, but the facts are most of those people who've been doing this 5 or 10 or 15 years who do landlording or quick cash are not very happy people anymore. Because all they did is they thought they were going to do real estate for freedom. Freedom is not work for higher pay. And that's the trap they're in. Yeah, they make $500,000 or $750,000 a year, or more, some of them. But the thing is, they have to go to where almost every single day? Work. Because if they don't go to work, their company's not going to stay in business. Yeah, many of them still are just the Lone Ranger solos, because that is a common thing in this business. A lot of guys teach it. A lot of them are Lone Ranger. We do it all by ourselves. We won't have a team. I mean, I can't believe it when I can believe it, but it still amazes me. I meet people who are 20 years in the business, husband and wife, and she's still cleaning the gosh darn toilets on the rental houses when they're vacant. It's like, you got 100 houses you've been doing it for 20 years. Mate, pop $50, pay somebody to clean the toilets for your wife. But it's like, no, we got to do it this way. This is how we do it. Most people who are in this business in the long term, who are players, are